So the horses are very intuitive. They will present what the person is putting out that they don't even know that they're putting out. So they act as an amazing mirror to what is really happening, because they can sense incongruency. They sense our biorhythms. I mean, they know how fast your heart is beating. So if someone is standing there saying, "Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm good. I'm good." And the horse is like, "Oh, hell no. I'm just going to stand over here until you're done." And you can be, congruent with what's really going on inside. And when the person relaxes, settles down, and comes into their body, the horse will come right over.
Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blosdale.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blosdale, your expert authority business coach, helping my clients get the word out on their business through podcasting and TikToks and videos and their websites and all that great stuff. And today I am very excited to have a very special guest with me, joining me today, Sue Willoughby. And Sue is an equine-assisted transformational life coach. And if you're like saying to yourself, what the heck is that? This is really awesome. And I can't wait to jump into this because I love these gorgeous animals, and you work with them on the daily with your clients. So we're going to jump right into it. Sue, welcome to Out of the Box with Christine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And speaking of out of the box, right? You know, when you tell people that you're a life coach, they're expecting, probably they're thinking of you sitting on a Zoom call with a client and saying, you can do it, and we can overcome these obstacles, and where are you stuck in life right now? And that's about it. But your coaching is quite a bit different, is it not?
It is. Now, I can do all of that stuff, and I do all of that stuff.
You said do.
But I do. Oh, careful language. But the thing that sets my coaching apart is that I have a partner. And my partner is a four-legged animal that weighs about 1,200 pounds. And I can also use minis, I can use ponies, I can use anything, but I do work with horses primarily because they're amazingly intuitive.
And how did you get started with this? I mean, did you experience this yourself, or was it just your relationship with horses for a long time and you said, "Oh my goodness, there's a light bulb moment going on"?
A little bit of everything. Horses have always been in my life. I remember when I was a little kid and, your parents put you to bed before it gets dark out and you're just sitting there like, it's daylight. What am I doing here? And I managed to get up out of bed and I peered out the window and there were two horses drinking from my kiddie pool in the backyard. And I'm like, I came screaming out of my bedroom. I'm like, oh my God, you put me to bed early so you could bring my horses over. And they're just like, no, that is not what's happening here. So... But horses have always just been in my life. And I didn't really realize how therapeutic they were to me personally until later in life. And I'm like, oh yeah, connecting those dots. But when I was, I think 19, I quit my job. I saw an ad in the paper. That's when we did have ads in the paper. And it was for a summer counselor at a special ed camp, basically. Yeah. And they needed a horse person to work with in therapeutic riding. I didn't even know what that was, but I'm like, yeah, I'm in. So I wrote them a letter, wrote them a letter, put it in the mailbox, waited for the reply. And I had the best summer of my life. I met people that are in my life now that I've known for, probably over 40 years. And it was just amazing. We had a little herd of horses and we would do, therapeutic riding, and it was amazing. It was incredible. So that was kind of my entry into horse healing and horse therapy.
I love that. I remember when I was, I think might have been junior high school. I was lucky enough to do some English writing. And it was from a private school where we were able to access horses. And I did a little bit of the English writing. And at that facility, they would have children with different disabilities. They would come and they would have, get to be on a horse and experience either just riding around the ring or just being with them. And I think I remember vividly a young blind girl who was just like lit up like a Christmas tree when she got to be with the horse. And they were so gentle. Like that was the thing. Cause I was like, that's a very large animal that could, that could cause some harm at some point, but they were so gentle with these children. And it was something to witness. It really was. So I could see how that would get you, get you into that world. Now with what you do, it's not necessarily someone is riding a horse, correct?
There's no riding. Yeah. No riding.
Talk about
no
this.
riding experience. So what happens in a session? The horse is at liberty, meaning that it doesn't have a halter or a lead rope. The horse is free to roam about the arena or the round pen, whatever facility that we're in. And the client is in the arena with the horse, and asking them questions. I have them set an intention when they first go in. So something that they want to work on, something that they want to, take away from the session. And then I've given them a safety demo, and I've also shown them a couple of ways to interact with the horse so that they're not totally, out there not knowing what to do.
Right.
Like, now what do I do? And then I just let them be with the horse. I let them interact with the horse. And while they're interacting, I may ask them questions or I'm usually just observing what the horse is doing. And I'm also observing what the client is doing and what they're saying and what their behavior is. And then I'm watching the horse, and then I'm watching them. And then I'm like, okay, that gives me an opportunity to ask a coaching question, an open-ended question or whatever. I had a client that was actually felt better, wanted the horse on the lead, and they were leading the horse around the arena. And the horse was just, kind of nipping at their shoulder and at their arm. And I said, are you okay with that? And they're like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And I could tell that it wasn't. So I said, okay, well, let's just keep working. And it persisted to the point where I said, okay, let's just stop for a second. And I said, what's going on here? Oh, the horse is just, trying to get my attention. I said, okay. Can we talk about boundaries a little bit? I said, is there a time in your life or when you're out, in your real life where things like this happen, where things or people or stuff comes into your space that it may be unwanted? And they thought for a minute, they're like, wow, yeah, there is. So the horses are very intuitive. They will present what the person is putting out that they don't even know that they're putting out.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. So they act as an amazing mirror to what is really happening, because they can sense incongruency. They sense our biorhythms. I mean, they know how fast your heart is beating. So if someone is standing there saying, oh, I'm not afraid, I'm good. And the horse is like, oh, hell no, I'm just going to stand over here until you're done. And you can be, congruent with what's really going on inside. And when the person relaxes, settles down, and comes into their body, the horse will come right over. It's amazing. It's really incredible.
What I find intriguing about that style of coaching too is that you're taking someone out of, I don't want to say their comfort zone, but out of this thing of, they're taking them out. So they're focused on the experience of being with the horse and the sounds and the smells and everything. Right. And so you're not diverting their attention per se, but you're having them in a completely unique and different atmosphere than being in their cozy little, living room or wherever, or in an office type setting, right? Where we have expectations, right? This is how it's going to go. You're putting them in an unusual circumstance where they don't know what is necessarily going to happen. And that's really powerful, especially for a life coaching session, right?
Right. Well, that's the beauty of it because they don't know what to expect, right? The horses are big and the thing that a lot of people say, well, they've either had a bad experience with a horse, and I say bad in air quotes. They've had an experience with a horse that was probably less than favorable in their memory, right? And they say, well, I'm intimidated by them. They're so big, they're so powerful, and they are all of that. And then the truth is they're prey animals. They're 1,200-pound prey animals. Right? They are, the reason that they're so intuitive is because they're constantly trying to figure out if they're going to die or not. Right? So am I safe? What is this thing? If it's a plastic bag, oh my God, what's going to happen? But they can, is that plastic bag going to kill me? They can, in, a heartbeat, assess, they will sense it, they will assess it, they can determine whether they're in danger or not, right? Fight or flight, what are we going to do here? And if it's not a threat, then they can just go back to grazing and go back to what they were doing. So they're really good at tuning into themselves and knowing what's around them so that they know if they're safe or not. We tend to hang on to a lot of stuff, as you all well know. Yeah. We have stories, we have all kinds of things that we tell ourselves. If a plastic bag blew across the thing, we'd be talking about it for a month.
Right.
Where the horse is like, oh, okay, done with that. That's good. So, it's really interesting because horses don't judge and they don't lie. They don't judge. They're just being. And that is what is really so cool about equus coaching is that it just, if people can, or when they can settle into themselves and just be, it's beautiful.
Well, and there's also that connection for, when you were talking about the horse also being very much aware that, it could be prey at any moment and sort of checking out the landscape, vigilant, being vigilant.
Very.
That's what, a lot of people with early childhood issues, early childhood traumas, or if you were the child of an alcoholic, that feeling of when the door opens, is this going to be, good daddy or bad daddy or angry daddy or
mommy or bad mommy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And children who grow up under those circumstances can be hyper vigilant and always scanning the surrounding areas, right? So I think that also, even if it's a subconscious connection with the horse, that's something that people can experience as well. Maybe they're not even conscious of it though, that's happening. Yeah, you know what? And I've always found horses so absolutely fascinating, and I know for myself, I need to get back to that connection because I had an odd experience with a horse. And then later, once I had reviewed it in my mind and my psyche, realized that it absolutely was not the horse's fault. It was one of these situations where we're around a ring, and luckily it was a soft dirt arena. We're around a ring. My friend had access to these horses whose other friend said, we need to ride the horses. We need to take it's exercise. It's like walking a dog, right? You need to go. So her horse was a real son of a gun and would be my horse would be behind and then it would be kicking his back legs. And mine was so beautiful and so wonderful and so patient with the whole thing. And we had been walking them for quite some time, or riding them for quite some time. And she said, do you want to go? You want to go one more time around? And I was like, I felt underneath the blanket, and, he was getting warm a little bit. And I said, I don't know. I think he's okay. I think he's good, And she's like, oh, come on. And I knew, and she's like, come on, let's do one more. And I said, okay. So I did that little thing, giddy up, come on. And the horse in front of him did it again, kicked his leg back. And my horse just said, F you all, I'm done. Took off to the edge of the arena and was wanting to flick me off his back, like just get off of me. And of course, when you're going at full speed, you want to get off. I was like, oh, you want me to get off? I will gladly get off, but I can't get off until you stop because this is very fast. So I just remember like him going to the edge of the arena and then throwing his shoulder down, trying to flick me off. And I said, okay. So I unsmartingly would take my leg out of the stirrup, one leg out of the stirrup, right? So I've got one leg in and one leg out, and I'm trying to push off. I don't know what I was trying to do, watching stunt movies or something. And I ended up being like, my foot got stuck in the stirrup and I was being dragged around the arena.
Oh yes. And
of course we didn't have helmets on. We didn't have any, I didn't have the proper boots. I didn't have anything. I think I had jeans on, which were shredded. But once I got my foot outside of that, and I was on the ground, I saw him just raise up and his foot came down, his hoof, whatever, came down on my leg. Right. And I have never experienced that sort of pain before. And in the chaos of all of that, what I noticed was when the horse realized he hurt me, he immediately, it was like he put his head down and like slowly walked away and just hung his head like, oh,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. And it was like immediately I had that I was like, he was done. And I knew he was done. And we had to force our way with this horse who was completely done. But to see his remorse and how sad he was that he had hurt me was just mind blowing. It changed the whole situation. I was like, what's that blood? That's nothing. Come on.
What's that bone sticking out there? We can put that right back.
That's nothing. Yeah. But it was in that moment where I was like, wow, they're very much aware of your feelings and that connection to human beings. Have you had some experiences? Have you had some interesting experiences? Probably not like that one, but something similar.
Similar. Yeah, I've had a lot of crazy experiences with horses. I think the first time I came off a horse, I was about 5 years old, and we were on a little trail ride, and my pony was like, I'm done, totally. And he started galloping back to the barn, and I just came flying off, and I was sitting there. My mom, of course, was a basket case, and she came up on her horse, and she's not a rider, by the way. And I'm sitting on the ground, and she thought I was sobbing. I was laughing hysterically, sitting in a big pile of horse poop, just cracking up, going, let's do that again. So I've been pretty fortunate up until recently with not coming off the horse. Until last year, I decided to start playing polo because why not at 64, right? I like to take those risks. Oh boy. I was doing really well and I was having fun, and we were doing like a little practice chucker. It's a baby game, not at full speed, thank God. But the thing is, if you pass the ball, you keep going. Don't stop. Don't go back. Just keep going. But I got a little greedy and a little aggressive, and I leaned back to whack the ball with my mallet. And as I did, I pulled the horse up off the ground. I came off and I shattered my wrist. Ow. And yeah, it was a good one. I'm laying there. My wrist was all like, that's not right. That's not right. So we went to the ER, and that was last summer, but I'm back. So, I mean, like you said, they take care of themselves. Your horse was done. He was just taking care of himself, and he wasn't, no offense, but he wasn't thinking about you. He was thinking about the situation he was in, and you were just kind of collateral damage. And yeah, he did realize, sorry, didn't mean to throw you off and step on you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was the thing. That was the big thing from that day. It was just to see to feel his emotion, that he had. I was just like, and I told my friend, I said, I'll never listen to you again when you tell me to just one more time. No.
What could it do? Yeah.
So experiences with your clients, talk about, if you can, some of those transformational experiences that people have after they've been with you and the horses. Can you tell some stories?
Sure. I'll be as generic as possible. But
Yeah, you don't want to identify anybody.
Right. So the other cool thing is that the horse can also act as a metaphor. If someone is having a difficult time with a loved one or a friend or a spouse or whatever, the horse can act as a metaphor for that person or a scenario or something. And it allows the client to work through it and use what the feedback that they're getting from the horse, both the feedback that I'm having them experience and the direct feedback, and having that horse give them immediate feedback. Like you said, if it's talk coaching or talk therapy or whatever, people can tell you whatever they want to tell you, right? And yes, we do have our own intuition, but when you've got 1,000-pound animal standing next to you, giving you very, very direct feedback, boom, it really cuts to the chase.
Oh, yeah. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and then I've also seen people come in and they put their stuff on the horse, whatever it is that they're dealing with. I had a client that came into a round pen, and the horses are just being horses. They're being themselves. They're taking care of themselves. And the horse was over kind of at the very edge of the round pen, just kind of grazing on whatever grass it could, nibble at or whatever. And the client came in and immediately started saying, "Oh, the horse doesn't like me. The horse is bored. The horse is this. The horse is, And I let it go on for a little bit. And then I said, "Why do you think that? Why do you think the horse doesn't like you? Well, he's over there. He's ignoring me. He's doing, what I said. He's being a horse." So, he's being a horse. You think, they'll just lay down in the middle of the arena. They'll roll, they'll grunt, they'll fart, they'll poop, they'll do whatever. They don't care. They're taking care of themselves. So it allows the person to sort of, see and open up those doors to like, oh. And then the horse, came over and was walking with the person. And I said, "Oh, is the horse still bored? The horse still not like you?" "No, he likes me now." Like, okay.
But isn't that interesting?
Interesting though, how people read that, or they'll put their stuff on the horse. Like, "Oh, he's over there because he doesn't like me. He's over there because he's bored with me." And it's like, oh, okay. So what you want to do is take those moments, right? Build awareness around them so that when they leave the arena, they can go back out and have that takeaway that maybe that person at work is not ignoring me, right? Maybe they have something else going on. Maybe they're doing whatever. It's not about me, right? It's just because we always say it's not about the horse.
Right.
It's not about the horse.
Right. And those perceptions that people have, that we have as human beings, and we go out into the world. Oh, obviously that person hasn't texted me back, or right, I haven't heard back from them.
The story.
There's the story. I call it going down the drain.
Oh yeah, the rat hole. I call it the rat hole. Yeah.
Yeah. And going down that drain, and how it builds and builds and builds and until it's. I think as humans, sometimes we like to take the worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's from our times being in, worried about being thrown out of the cave and eaten by a dinosaur, or what primal thing that is.
We all do it. I do it. I've gotten way, way, way better, but it was that paranoia of, oh my God, well, if that person didn't call me right back, or they didn't, maybe they don't like me, maybe they don't, right? The horse is just like, I ain't got none of that going on.
No,
I don't know what's coming up with that stuff, girl, but it's not happening here.
I just saw some grass I wanted to eat.
Yeah, right? To take a dump. So I went over to the other side of the arena. But it is really interesting that once someone can actually settle down and be in their body, and we'll go through some grounding exercises when they're in the arena, so that we live most of our lives up here, right? Horses don't. They're in their bodies constantly. If they can, the tiniest little fly lands on their butt, they can twitch that little tiny piece of skin and get rid of it, right? That's how sensitive they are. They know when we're, a quarter of a mile away. They can sense our being because like I said, they are prey animals. So they're trying to figure out what's going on with you, right? They're looking at you. They may be, their ears work independently of each other. Their eyes are on the sides of their head more. We're predators. So we're like, eh. They have a really big field of vision. So they know what's going on unless you're like directly behind them or like right here in front of them. They can see everything that's going on. So they might have an ear back listening to you and another one forward because they're trying to figure out what's going on. So it's really interesting to watch their behavior, how they interact with a human and what's going on.
Powerful.
It is so powerful. And the coaching opportunities are endless.
Yes. I can see that. I can imagine that. Now, if people want to experience this type of coaching, well, first of all, we'll make sure that we give out your website, which is willowbycoaching.com. We'll spell that for you and put that in the show notes so people can click on that. But where are you located? Because obviously this is not something that you do via Zoom. I mean, it's all great and everything, but where are you? Where would people need to go in order to participate in this type of coaching?
So I live outside of Seattle. I am in a sort of a rural town called Enumclaw, so Western Washington. But I also I will team up with other coaches and we do retreats, private retreats at private ranches in various places like California, or, we can go anywhere that there is a facility that meets our criteria. In other words, has horses, has a couple of round pens and or an arena. So people can, create their own retreat, which is kind of cool. They can do a themed retreat. Corporations can also, if they have a group, an intact group or whatever, they're a work group that they're trying to, and those are really interesting because, you're showing up at something that could potentially be a very emotionally opening experience, and you're there with your coworkers. So the corporate or more business related retreats can be pretty interesting. So
well, that's also showing management who actually really cares and wants the best from their team, right?
Yes.
And it is a team building experience too, because I'm sure the stories that come back.
Well, and it is interesting because you can see, okay, if you have like a group herding kind of thing, okay, you're the boss mare at work, you're the...
Yeah. I love it. I'm intrigued by what you do, and I want others to learn more about equine-assisted transformational life coaching. My guest today has been Sue Willoughby. You can find out more by going to willoughbycoaching.com. Don't worry about the spelling on that. We will have that in the show notes. You can just click on the link and check out Sue's website and all the great stuff. And you get to see some horses. Those are the therapists. Those are those are the fellow coaches, right? And all different sizes. They're beautiful. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful, beautiful website. Because I love seeing all the different horses that you have there.
We'll have to organize a retreat down your way.
Yes,
down under.
Absolutely.
That would be so fun.
That would be fun. And I need to make my connection back to horses again.
Absolutely.
And you're the person to do it. Thank you, Sue, so much for being with me today. And of course, I want to thank you, wonderful listeners, to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all those great platforms, and to the viewers who are watching on YouTube. Yes, the podcast is available on YouTube. You can just look for Out of the Box with Christine and make sure you subscribe and leave a comment if you want. If you enjoyed today's episode, that would be great. If you want more information about my coaching program, you can go to christineblosdale.com. I'll have the link in the show notes as well. And until next time, as I always say, remember to think outside that damn box. And I think today's guest was just a perfect example of thinking outside the coaching box. Thanks again, Sue. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. So and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.